Star Citizen Update 4.5 introduced us to engineering in a new ballistic weapons meta that has shaken up Star Citizen PvP. No longer are CF series repeaters the kings of the battlefield. It is the time of the Mantis, Breakneck, and the Shredder. Perhaps no fighter was as deeply affected by this change than the Anvil Hawk. For most of the Hawk's life, it existed as an off choice. It was never the standout success that its younger brother, the Anvil Arrow, was, but it was always a competent ship with a powerful EMP to boot. However, in 4.3, the Hawk was buffed, with much more ship health across its many segments, and suddenly the Hawk went from a quaint choice to the game's best 1v1 duelist ship.
Check fire. Check fire.
Okay, and fire.
Check fire.
Disable the ship. So that time, this was a full EMP disable. So this is where it gets wild, right? That is the whole concept behind the Hawk. It is dirty. This isn't to say that the Hawk was OP, it was just incredibly good in a 1v1. In a fleet engagement, it became incredibly hampered, as the EMP is an area of effect weapon that is just as likely to hurt your allies as your enemies. And of course, any skilled arrow or Gladius ace would fly circles around you if they just managed their shields and distance. But finally, the Hawk really felt like it could join the cadre of top light fighters alongside his brother, the Arrow. But then engineering came, and with it, armor. Armor nerfed CF repeaters and most laser weapons out of the meta, hard. Now, not only did lasers have to chew through shields, they then had to burn through an entire armor health pool before being able to damage hull or components. Ballistics penetrate both shields and armor, and they had their ammunition pools buffed dramatically. The end result was ballistics killing approximately 40% faster than their laser equivalents. So why did this affect the Hawk so deeply? Well, for the EMP to have effect, enemy shields need to be low or empty. If you outfit a Hawk with a meta ballistic loadout, you will just pen the shield without dropping them. So you could either give up your EMP entirely and have the proper weapons, just to have a worse flying ship than the Gladius or Arrow, or suffer a huge DPS loss to try to keep that EMP relevant. With the dawn of engineering, it felt like the Hawk's time in the sun was over, and that it would once again be relegated to live forever in his brother's shadow, as the quirky bounty hunting ship that almost no one flies. But when one door closes, another opens. I originally wanted to test the Hawk again because I was hoping the EMP would help me punch up against larger numbers, similar to stealth like in my Hornet Ghost video. But that didn't pan out. The EMP is good, but against anything larger than it, all it does is mess with their radar for a few moments. That's good, and still a huge boon in a duel. But without disabling most ships in one go, the Hawk simply isn't a good punch-up tool like I had hoped. However, in testing this, I came to a realization.
Check fire.
And that's a win. Hate that cheese ship. What can I say? You see, outside of training or duelers in free flight, nearly everyone was using ballistics. From PU dogfights to squadron battle, ballistics were everywhere. I mean, why wouldn't they be? As stat for stat, they are just the correct choice in most circumstances. But what that means in 4.5 and 4.6 is that a ship's shields were rarely dropped before the ship itself was destroyed. See, we have been looking at the ship wrong. We've been looking at it as a duelist, and it simply isn't one anymore. No, the Hawk's true power now is as a support ship in squadron battle or in team fights in the PU. Hear me out. The biggest problem with the Hawk in squadron battle before was that firing its EMP hits friends and foes alike. Back in laser meta, you just couldn't know how many of your own ships you'd be shutting off or hurting just to EMP your target. But in ballistic meta, everyone has shields up all the time. If you bring CF repeaters or NDBs, you could mindfully join a team fight, drop your target shields, and EMP them without affecting anyone else in your squadron. Shut him off, see? I just shut him off. My teammate's fine, I shut him off. See that? What this means is that the Hawk's identity has shifted. It's no longer the duelist stepping into free flight and enraging the whole lobby. It's become something far more nuanced, a force multiplier. A ship that doesn't necessarily win the dogfight by itself, but makes sure your team does. And honestly, that's a role no other ship was really filling before. The Hawk still carries all of the perks of a light fighter for your squadron. It's plenty capable of deleting larger ships with ease. Those fundamentals didn't go anywhere. But what did change is how valuable the ships become when you aren't the main ship in a duel, but the second or third man in. If your Gladius, Arrow, or Hornet is pressing somebody hard, the Hawk sliding into their 5 o'clock with a repeater burst and a well-timed EMP can turn a slippery target into a sitting duck. They lose their pips, their MFDs, and their ability to track targets evaporates for those few critical seconds. And suddenly, your primary damage dealer has a free kill lined up. You don't have to commit to a full duel, you just need to get them low enough that your EMP tips the scales. If you peel off one hostile from your teammate, even briefly, that's a win. If you force a high value target, a really skilled pilot, to break off and reset, that's a win. If you shut down a coordinated pilot for even 5 seconds, that's more time for your squadron to push their advantage. The Hawk doesn't dominate the match, it shapes it. Now, that isn't to say that the ship suddenly became flawless. The Hawk is still a light fighter in the most literal sense. It still requires a skilled pilot to run it, and even with its buffs in 4.3, you don't get to make many mistakes. A few well-placed ballistic hits will start ripping pieces off of the ship, and once segments start popping, good luck controlling your thruster output. You're playing a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. If you overcommit or wander too far from your team, you'll be pretty quickly punished. And then there's the whole issue of team damage in squadron battle. Even though the ballistic meta theoretically makes the EMP safe to use, Arena Commander can still decide to kick you from the match for friendly fire from the EMP, even when your teammates took 0 meaningful damage. It doesn't happen every match, but it's common enough that Hawk pilots need to be pretty cognizant of their teammates still. It's frustrating, but if you can live with that occasional risk of being kicked from the game, the payoff is absolutely there. Fire. This fucking game, man. This fucking game, man! The Hawk, right now, excels in the role of controlled disruption. You're not trying to wipe the enemy team by yourself. You're trying to dive in and break their focus, break their timing, and ruin their momentum. When two fighters are locked in a tight knife fight or an orbit duel, the Hawk's job is to ruin the enemy pilot's day just long enough for you or your teammate to land a killing blow. And the more coordinated your squadron is, the stronger the effect becomes. Suddenly the Hawk is dictating who gets to engage and who gets to escape. And in a meta where ballistic shred ships faster than ever, where shields barely get a chance to go down before a ship is already crippled, that tiny moment of disruption is worth its weight in gold. It's the difference between trading evenly 1-for-1 in your squadron or snowballing your death ball into a huge lead, between scraping out a win and steamrolling the board. The Hawk may no longer be the king of the 1v1, but for the first time in years it has a clear, powerful niche, a ship that doesn't just fight and contribute itself, but limits your opponent's effectiveness. I'm not saying go and run the Hawk in massive swarms. I'm saying including a single Hawk or maybe even 2 in your larger squadron can have a huge impact on your overall effectiveness, especially when you need to punch up against some better pilots. But that's all I have for you today. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video enough to give me a like and a subscribe. If not, comment down below how I can improve. I've been thinking about putting out more educational style content on PvP flight mechanics, not just PvP focused ship reviews like I have been doing. So if that seems interesting to you, stick around. I'm not some Ruby level Ace, but I think I'm pretty good and I have a good enough grasp on the basics and the fundamentals to teach those at least. Have you guys tried the Hawk in 4.5 and 4.6? What are your thoughts on EMP or E-Warfare as a whole in Star Citizen? Leave your comments down below. This has been Citizen Cal, reminding you to stay dangerous.